Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark. We're in Judges chapter 11. We're going to be starting in verse 4 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, as we begin here in chapter 11, verse 4, we saw last lesson that Jephthah was kicked out of the house by his brothers, and he flees away and he goes, and it seems that he becomes this leader of a traveling group of men that raid Gentile towns and villages in order to make money, in order to live and survive. And now Jephthah here in verses 4 through 11, Jephthah is going to become the leader of the Gileadites. They knew about him. Even though he left, they knew about Jephthah and what he was doing. So let's read verses 4 through 11. And it says, And it came to pass in process of time that the children of Ammon made war against Jephthah. And it was so that when the children of Ammon made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said unto Jephthah, Come, and be our captain, that we may fight with the children of Ammon. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, Did not you hate me and expel me out of my father's house? Why are you come here unto me now, when you're in distress? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, Therefore we turn again to thee now, that you may go with us and fight against the children of Ammon, and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, If you bring me home again to fight against the children of Ammon, and the Lord he delivers them into my hand, shall I be your head? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, The Lord be witness between us, if we do not so according to your words. Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and captain over them. And Jephthah uttered all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. Now, it appears that when Jephthah was kicked out of his house by his brothers, that the leaders of the Jewish people in Gilead supported his brothers. In chapter 10 and verse 18, the leaders of Gilead, they asked, What man is he that will begin to fight against the children of Ammon? But here in verse 5 of chapter 11, it seems that there was no one in Gilead that would answer the call. No one wanted to be the leader. They had to petition Jephthah. Obviously, Jephthah was known among the Jews for his exploits. Unlike Abimelech and Gaal, Jephthah was a man of faith, and he did not look at this as an opportunity to be a leader. Ruling was not really Jephthah's passion. He was a man that trusted God, and he included God in all aspects of his life. In verse 9, it seems that if Jephthah is making the Jephthah is making the elders take an oath before the Lord. And in verse 10, the oath is ratified, and the Lord is the one who is overseeing both sides in this oath. So they come to him and they say, if you lead us, we'll let you be a leader of our nation. And Jephthah's like, are you sure? I mean, this is what you're saying. if I go out and I lead the army against Ammon and we defeat them, will I be your leader? He's challenging them. And they said, yes, you'll be our leader. Well, God was between that oath. The last part of verse 11, it says, and Jephthah uttered all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. And it seems to be a controversial portion of Scripture. Should these words have come after chapter 11, verse 31? Does it mean that Jephthah went to Mizpah and that the ark was brought to Mizpah? Or did the high priest come to Mizpah with the Urim and Thummim? So when it says here in last part of verse 11 says, and Jephthah uttered all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. So, well, what does that mean? Does it mean that the ark of the covenant, which was in Shiloh, was brought across the Jordan River to Mizpah so that he could do it? Or did just the high priest come to Mizpah with the Urim and Thummim, and did he say these words before the priest? What is it talking about here? I think it simply means that basically Jephthah prayed to God. All the words of the agreement that was between himself and the elders of Gilead. I don't think, the ark came to him or the priest came to him with the Urim and Thummim. I don't think any of that happened. I don't think he crossed over the Jordan River and went to Shiloh and did it. No. It says he uttered his words in Mizpah. And I think it basically means he just prayed. He prayed to God. And he told God what God already knew. He told God that, this agreement. They made an agreement with me and I agreed to them. And he wanted God's blessing on this. Now, in verses 12 to 28 of chapter 11, we have Jephthah's attempt at a peaceful diplomacy with the Ammonites. All right? Jephthah's attempt at peaceful diplomacy. Now, I'm not going to read all of these verses. You can read them when you have time. But verses 12 to 28. Now, Jephthah sends representatives to the king of Ammon to find out why they will attack the Jews, and if any agreement can be made without anyone being killed. In verse 13, what the king of Ammon said may sound okay, but there are two problems with it. Let's read verse 13 anyways. It says here, and the king of the children of Ammon answered unto the messengers of Jephthah, well, because Israel took away my land when they came out of Egypt from Arnon, even unto Jabbok, and unto Jordan. Now, therefore, restore those lands again peaceably. Now, it sounds like a reasonable thing, but it's not. The first reason is this. In Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 9 and 19, the children of Israel, they were forbidden by God to fight and to take away any of the land of the Moabites and of the Ammonites as they were approaching the promised land. So the children of Israel are in the wilderness. They're traveling up towards the promised land. God tells them, I don't want you to don't touch the Ammonites, don't touch the Moabites, I'm not going to give you any of their land. Just walk on by. And God tells them, don't make any war with them or whatever. Just keep on walking past them. God already gave them land. In Numbers chapter 21, verses 21 to 30, it describes the taking of the land that the Amorites possessed. We're not talking about the Ammonites. We're talking about the Amorites. The Amorites. The Amorites took land. In verse 28 of Numbers 21, it describes how the Amorites fought against Moab, the Moabites, and they took part of their land. All right, so you got to follow me now. You have the Amorites, the Ammonites, and the Moabites. And God told them, don't touch the land of the Moabites and the Ammonites. But it didn't say anything about the Amorites. Now, therefore, listen, therefore, when Israel defeated the Amorites and took their land, the land that the Amorites took from the Moabites didn't belong to the Moabites anymore. It belonged to the Amorites. Now, and any land that was taken by the Amorites from the Ammonites, that land would belong to the Amorites. So when the children of Israel came up and took over the Amorites, they defeated the Amorites. They took their land, the land that the Amorites possessed at that time that they took them, that they defeated them. Therefore, the Israelites were not the ones who took their land in the first place. They did, the Israelites, they did obey God by not fighting against Moab or Ammon for their land. They didn't take the land of the Ammonites. It was the Amorites that did it. And when the Israelites defeated the Amorites, they took the land that the Amorites possessed at that time. What Jephthah says in verse 15 is true. Israel only took the land that the Amorites possessed at that time. Let's read verse 15. Verse 15 says, and said unto him, thus saith Jephthah, Israel took not away the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Ammon. Listen, Jephthah knew the history. Jephthah knew the history of Israel. Gilead, his father, taught him the history of the land and of his nation. He knew it. He knew what he was talking about. And you know what? Jephthah was right. Now, the second lesson that we learn from him is that this second problem with the king's answer is very easy to understand. And that is that there's no way that Israel is going to give back any land to an enemy without a fight. They're just not going to say, okay, this is your land, 500 years, 300 years ago? That's what it's going to be. He's going to say 300 years. This was your land 300 years ago. Go ahead and take it. No. They're not going to let it. They're not going to just give away land to a known enemy. There's going to be no free giveaways given by Israel to Ammon. Jephthah explains everything in detail to the king and basically says that he has no right to attack them. In verse 26, Jephthah tells him that they had 300 years, the Ammonites had 300 years to recover their land, and they didn't do it. So why are you doing it now? But in verses 23 and 24, Jephthah includes God in all of this. This is funny, he tells the king that it was the Lord God of Israel that kicked out the Amorites so Israel could possess their land. And he tells the king to basically possess the land that their god Chemosh had given to them to possess. You possess the land. Listen, you worship Chemosh, well then you worship the land that Chemosh has given you. We're going to worship the land. We're going to worship God on the land that he's given to us. And he gave us the Amorite land. And if some of that land used to be yours, used to be your land hundreds of years ago, well, too bad. It's ours now. Jephthah is making this a war of the gods. He is forcing the Ammonite king to seriously consider whether Chemosh is worthy of his worship. Chemosh could not stop the Amorites from taking part of their land, and he couldn't help them get their land back in the last 300 years. So why are they worshiping Chemosh? Why are they worshiping Chemosh? If Chemosh couldn't prevent the Amorites from taking their land 300 years ago. And why are they worshiping Chemosh when in the last 300 years they haven't been able to take the land back? But in verse 28, the king of Ammon would not listen to reason. He had only one desire, and that was to get the land back, either by the Jews returning it to them or by war. And that's where it's coming down to. Why now, 300 years later? We don't know why. Jephthah wants to know the same reason. Why? You've had 300 years to come in and to war against us and take the land back, and you haven't done it. Why are you doing it now? And that's what Jephthah's question is. And the other thing is Jephthah's basically saying, you have no right. It wasn't your land in the first place. When we took it from the Amorites, we took their land. It was their land. All right, we're going to continue on in verse 29 next lesson. But until then, walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.